I want to start with just an interesting fact. Some, not all, but some young preschoolers, I would say around the age of 3, think that I'm Jesus. I said, this doesn't last for very long. It's a short phase. By age 4, they know better and everything. But I always think it kind of makes sense that I think that they come to the church. This is the house of God. They hear about Jesus, and then here I am. I'm in these robes. So this guy's Jesus. Again, I can just see how it kind of goes together. And so as I walk by sometimes, the campus, a little, hi, Jesus. Or after the Friday morning masses, everybody's leaving, bye, Jesus. Yeah. So among the preschool set, I'm a pretty big deal. That's all I'm saying. So I'm going to use that. But because the preschool is right across from the rectory. So as you come up this hill, 88, it's right across. And as I go back and forth all the time from the office to the rectory and church and the rectory and that sort of thing. As I pass the preschool play area, it's surrounded by a chain link fence, right? You can see through the fence, but there's this fence there. And when I walk past during recess, all the little kids are out there running and yelling and having a good time. Most of the times they don't even notice me. I'm just walking by and they're absorbed. Once in a while, fairly regularly, one of the kids spots me. And then she will start to shout. Either hi Jesus or hi Father Nagel. And they just keep, then as soon as that comes out, then the rest of them flock to the fence. They hold on. Hi Father Nagel, hi Father Nagel. And I wave. You have to wave because they're going to keep on saying it until you respond. And so I do it. So, an unmarried man is anxious about the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But a married man is anxious about the things of the world, how he may please his wife, and is divided. So that's from the second reading today, 1 Corinthians 7, verses 32, 35. Well, I'd like to look at that a little closer today because sometimes a passage, it can cause confusion or even offense to married people. What's this, we're second class, whatever. What's Paul trying to say? So I want to begin by going back to last week's homily. I know some of you weren't here. But last week, the second reading was 1 Corinthians 7, 29, 31. So the 3 verses before this week's second reading. They're right in a row. And remember that. So for those of you who are here, I was talking about my experiences of Christmas at my mom's, how that's gone. The time is running out. From now on, let those having wives act as not having them, for the world in its present form is passing away. So that's last week's. And I preached about the need to recognize that the only lasting things in this life are not really things at all. They're persons, the Trinity, a relationship with God and one another in God, etc. That's all that lasts. And all the other things of this world are passing away and perhaps getting in the way of our true goal and happiness. So in this week's continuation of 1 Corinthians 7, Paul is simply going back to those verses and underlining the importance here. That he's not saying marriage is bad or that married people can't be saints. Again, something much holier than celibate people, etc. In individual cases, he's not talking about that. But he does want to go back to the importance of making first things first. And the first thing of all is God. And the truth he preaches is that it's easy for human beings, all of us, to get distracted by the things of this passing world. Those are the anxieties he's talking about in this reading of Paul's. And he's saying, again, job, career, money, status, looks, pleasure, and maybe especially because they're so good, spouse, kids, grandkids, all those sort of things. Those things can ease up into first place if we're not careful. So to go back to the preschoolers playing on the playground at recess. So they're all caught up in a number of these different activities going on. They're running, they're playing tag with each other, they're on the big toy, they go to the little boat, they're doing all sorts of things, having a good time. They're focused upon one another and what they're doing in the moment in the play area. And that's good. It's what they're supposed to be doing, socializing, sort of burning off energy. That's fine. But that playground it's probably their favorite part, but it's really just one small patch of their reality of life. So it's like a semi-self-contained experience that they have. And what separates them from the larger world, though, it's not a solid wall, it's this permeable chain link fence. And sometimes, as I said, one of them will look up and look beyond their little world of the playground. And for that moment, they're transported into a larger world that I exist in and other things happen. And so, again, for that moment, they're transported into looking beyond themselves and seeing God at work, present in their lives, and they respond to him. So this is the analogy that I think applies to all of us, no matter what our ages are. We're so busy playing on the playground of this life and world that we often usually, in fact, miss Jesus walking by. Yes, there's times that we catch these glimpses. There's times that we do look beyond and Jesus kind of breaks into our world in some way. But mostly we're distracted by what's going on inside the fence. So what Paul is saying here is that the celibate state of life, we're not talking about individuals here and their own experiences, but the state of life is less likely, at least inherently, potentially to distract one from putting God first than the married state of life. No guarantees, again, individual cases completely differ. But marriage is necessary and good, and most saints are called to that vocation of marriage. But the celibate vocation points everyone, including married people, to the truth that you can't get too caught up in the world because it's passing away. So that's what that life, the state of life that I'm in is supposed to be underlined. I'm not living for this world. I have enough trust in the next to say, I'm going to give up some really good things because it's all going anyway. I want to just let everybody know it's going. So the celibate vocation is not really just so that I'm more available to serve, although there's truth to that. But the main purpose of living a celibate life, like Paul did, like Jesus did, is because it points to heaven. This is called the eschatological dimension. You don't have to remember that, but that's a fancy theological world. It is less easy to get caught up in the world if you're not trying to pray, help, encourage, chide your kids and your grandkids to do the right thing. You love them, they're in pain, they're suffering, you're trying to help them out. And that can very easily take up the front part of your brain. In fact, that's because it's so beautiful, it can get closer to being like God. Whereas if a celibate person isn't going first thing, God's not first, he's probably putting something in place of God that's much more pathetic than family or spouse or something. It happens, but again, it's kind of there's more moral culpability. Whatever I'm going to put in first, it's not like a spouse or a kid, something really beautiful, important. So we're all called to look beyond the fence, to see Jesus more frequently in our lives. And, I always am asking you to pray 20 minutes a day, silent, solitary prayer. And this is what goes back to the same point, that having a daily prayer routine is crucial. And this is why I say this so often. It's why I'm saying it again today. We all need time to take a time to look at God. So think of your 20 minutes of quiet prayer. By the way, this is especially important for married couples. And I think for a Catholic married couple, the two spouses owe it to one another to clear the deck for one another to take 20 minutes a day by themselves. Now, the obvious one is the young mother with kids that's going all over today. It's just very frazzled. She certainly needs 20 minutes a day with God. But it doesn't, everybody. It's for everybody. That you're on for that. Because again, that quiet prayer time is for you to look through the chain link fence, lift your eyes, and look through that veil, that permeable barrier between this material world and heaven, the supernatural, Jesus' reality. And all we need to do that, sometimes we think prayer is super complicated. We can go a different time and talk about that. But prayer is simply to gaze with our soul's eyes and then lift them up to a larger reality that we mostly miss, and recognize that Jesus is actually, whatever I've been spending my time on, probably it's a small patch of my reality. It's the playground. But if I only take time, lift up my eyes, look through the fence, I can see Jesus. I can say, hi, Jesus. Hi. And that's the beginning of prayer. 20 minutes of recognizing, Jesus, you're here. So am I.